What's up, freak bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be watching? Thank you for giving us just a little bit of your time. A whole lot of stuff to go into tonight. No movie reviews today, as nothing came out that all of us really wanted to see. I gotta be honest, the last week, there really wasn't a lot of big releases that interested me. But there is a whole lot of things to talk about. I left out a couple of fairly big stories off the rundown today because I didn't want to be here for 7.5 hours. I didn't think you guys would want to hear my voice that long. But one voice you guys may want to hear talk about all this stuff is the Dowager Countess, Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
That we have a new guest co-host tonight. Love you and miss you, Jeremy. Love to you and Rachel out there, but really happy to have the other person here tonight.
And that other person is the cartoon kid, the cartoon expert, Ray Rollins. What's up, brother?
Woo-hoo!
What up, everybody? Here on the Harsh Truth Networking in the chat, baby. Frank, I gotta tell you, my man, that was a fire-ass anime show that you and the homies put on last night. That shit was freaking hitting, man. I stayed and watched the whole thing, and I gotta say, leaps and bounds better than Derailed every Sunday night, man.
Well, duh. yeah. Last night, Jeremy and his crew absolutely freaking killed it. So that's probably going to be something we do on a fairly regular basis, at least once a month. Me and Jeremy talked about it a little bit after we got off the air last night about some things that we'd like to try to do with it. But that's going to be something that Jeremy's going to quarterback for us moving forward. Get a couple of his anime friends together and talk. Rose kind of popped in last minute last night, but his knowledge was every bit as good as everybody else's.
Oh, hell yeah!
And his friend Corey, they really carried the show very, very well. It was actually a killer show. And if you're into anime, I really hope you guys go back and check that stuff out because that's something we're probably going to start doing on a more regular basis now, as a little bit of an anime show. But yeah, Jeremy and his crew absolutely killed it last night. I mean, they were tremendously popular. We had pretty good viewership the entire show. A lot of people who I was surprised I saw TSS and some other people in the chat that were like engaged and talking about
TSS loves anime.
I had no idea that half these people were even into anime. I mean, I know that they're like people I watch cartoons, but I don't watch anime. You know what I mean? So I didn't know if anime was going to be something that popped off very big in the community, but it did. There was a lot of people in there that were really engaged. So that's something that we're gonna have to do some more of in the future. But we're not talking about the future today. We're talking about some stuff that has happened in the last week in the world of entertainment. And Lady Cora, what is the first topic we're talking about today?
Well, after a bit of fun watching the new Coming to America, we thought that might be the end. Looks like we're going to get Coming to America Part 2. So,
Hocus Pocus
sequel
2.
is impossible. It's now confirmed that Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker... did you type that wrong?
No, I typed it right. I was just trying to be funny. I was trying to be confusing.
I'm like, now you're fucking with my head. Anyways. Fuck. Rewind, everybody. It's now confirmed that Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy, I'm going to say this wrong, Najimy, will be reprising their roles as the Sanderson sisters in Hocus Pocus 2. Additionally, Sam Richardson, Hannah Waddingham, and Nina Kitchen have been cast in undisclosed roles. I like that phrase, undisclosed roles. Nothing is yet known about the plot, but filming began on October 18th, 2021 in Providence, Rhode Island, and the film is scheduled to be released in late 2022 on Disney+. Ray, what do you think about the return of the Sanderson sisters? And do you think they partied on Halloween on the set?
Well, listen, I hope to God they partied on the set, okay? Like, listen, that's one thing you have to do, man, especially if it's Halloween. Man, I don't care how old you are. That's one occasion that you have to, take part in and enjoy. But as far as I'm concerned with the Sanderson sisters, they're cool, I guess. Fuck them. I'm not a big movie person. So but yeah, it should be interesting, man. I'll check it out. I'll check it out for sure. Sanderson sisters, dope, Yeah.
When I first saw it, it creeped me out. Bette Midler, she was so good at being creepy in that. I don't know. I would love to see what they do with it plot-wise. They can either, I think, do a good job or a shit job. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult to do sequels this far out of the original product. It's been so hit or miss as they've tried to to do this kind of thing in Hollywood. I unapologetically love Hocus Pocus. I think it's a fun-ass movie. I've always enjoyed watching it. It's the kind of movie... That was one of the first movies, especially in the 90s, that came out that had some of the double entendre, the jokes that had levels that adults understood at this spot, but kids understood at another one. So you can... And they've only gotten better at doing stuff like that in Hollywood. So I'm all for it. I'm all for a sequel. Like I'm one of the people that for years was saying Hocus Pocus 2 wasn't going to happen. If it was going to happen, they'd have done it years ago. But I said the same thing about Coming to America 2. I thought if we were ever going to see that sequel, that it was going to come out 10, 12 years ago. But it ended up happening. And so now the floodgates have been opened. They're going to go back to all this stuff and see what they can sequelize and try to draw some of that nostalgic money off of at the box office. And... whatever. Like I said, I really enjoyed Hocus Pocus. I do think that they probably had a kick-ass Halloween party because you're filming in that area in Rhode Island. You're filming in around the Salem, New England area where witchcraft was such a big deal anyway back in the 1800s. You're filming a movie about witches in that area on Halloween. That must have been the dopest fucking Halloween party ever. that had to have had some crazy shit going on. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about it. And Anne Fletcher is the one who's making it. She did the proposal in 27 Dresses. The proposal is actually really funny. I'm not too big on rom-coms, but the proposal is really funny. And I know a lot of women that like 27 Dresses. So, have either of you guys read The Crucible when you were in high school?
No.
I know of the book, but I never read it.
Well, that you said Salem witch trials. Obviously, that's what Hocus Pocus focused on and whatnot. That is a book that's heavily based off of that. Very good story. You guys mentioned that. That really made me think of that. So check that out, The Crucible. I might even give it a reread. Probably somewhere around next year Halloween. To get in the Halloween vibe. But good, fantastic book. Check that bad boy out. Good classic.
I've always found witchcraft kind of interesting anyway. Not that I would ever practice it, in real life, but I mean, just like the theories behind it all, the kind of strangeness, the idea of a potion being able to do something, some incantation causing something to happen, to manifest physically. That idea has always been something very interesting to me. Like I said, I could never practice it, but it's
you should look into it, man. Create a potion to make your hair grow back.
It could. They'd have that stuff. It's called Rogaine. See? A natural witch and wizards have already made shit like this. The scientific people. But look, I'm all for this. I mean, you've also got what's his name? The guy that played the zombie. I forget his name. He's been in a bunch of other stuff, but he's actually coming back to play his role as well. The ones who played the kids are not going to be in this movie, so we're going to be looking at a whole different story, a whole different characters, and a whole different group of kids are going to have to be dealing with the Sanderson sisters. But it's also got Adam Shankman's involved, and Adam Shankman did the next Hairspray movie and What Men Want, that movie that came out a couple years ago with Taraji P. Henson, who I absolutely adore. She's gorgeous. So I mean, there's all kinds of great filmmaking talent that's involved in this, and of course the original starred Midler, Parker, and Najimy as a trio of witches who were resurrected 300 years after the Salem witch trials, and made the horrifying discovery that Halloween is now a beloved holiday. Narrative details are under wrap. It is supposed to be premiering on Disney Plus during the fall of 2022, so we can expect to see that in about a year. I'm guessing that's going to be out in time for Halloween next year. But I'm pretty excited about it. Ray, any final thoughts from you?
It'll be a dope movie to check out. I think. You think that movie would be appropriate for like my nieces and nephews? Hocus Pocus. I think so, right?
It's a Disney movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the cusp of a little scary and creepy, but not much. It's very voluntary.
Right. Yeah, so probably not the younger ones. But like you said, Frank, it is a Disney movie. So yeah, I might be down to check that out with my nieces and nephews next year. Yeah, why not? Love a good scary movie.
Oh yeah. Cora, any final thoughts from you before we move on?
I think it's great. Again, I worry that the plot will end up being stupid or cheesy or too SJW, but it could be great. It has potential.
I'm just looking forward to enjoying it for what it's gonna be. It's gonna be the Sanderson sisters acting goofy. These three women are just great in the roles. I think they're awesome. And
the costuming was good too.
It was, and they both all three of these girls still look pretty good, except for Sarah Jessica Parker, who looks like a foot. But I mean, I was actually just watching an interview with Kathy Najimy the other day. She was being interviewed in that Brittany Murphy documentary that they made about her on HBO, and she still looks fantastic. Bette Midler still looks very, very good. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be fun, even if it is just kind of a rehash of the plot of the last movie, I'm okay with that. I'm not expecting Oscar worthy. I'm not expecting the next Gone with the Wind or the next, Dr. Zhivago. I'm not expecting that. I just want to watch this movie for a couple hours and have fun. I'm pretty confident they can give us that, especially with some of the people involved. Adam Shankman's made a lot of really funny stuff. So
they probably had many a years to think of what would we do as a follow-up to this. So somebody has a passion project sitting in their desk waiting to, put it into play. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty fun. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think about the eventual release of Hocus Pocus 2. What do we got going on next, Lady Cora?
Well, this one I'm excited about because I saw this preview months ago when they first dropped the very first one. And first of all, I'm a huge Jared Leto fan and huge vampire-ish fan. And the fact that it's an MCU is just like cherry on top. So a couple trailers dropped in the last 4 days. And the one I alluded to is the most anticipated comic book movie of the year, full of Easter eggs and action shots. The new Morbius trailer gave us an idea of what Sony wants to do with their universe once Spider-Man leaves the MCU. Frank, what did you think of this look at Jared Leto as Dr. Michael Morbius?
They did give us a lot more about exactly what this character is going through in the movie without giving us too much more of the plot. I personally don't give a shit to even see another trailer. I'm just like, just give me the movie. I only really need 2 trailers for a movie and then I'm done. I don't want to see a trailer a week for like 6 weeks until the movie comes out. Show me the opening trailer that kind of just shows me what the world looks like, then show me the second trailer which gives me an idea of the plot, and then give me the movie. I don't want anything else. But this trailer, it was very unique. It wasn't just about what's coming in the movie. It's Sony saying that Sony gave us some great visuals as to where their universe is going after Spider-Man leaves the MCU. Now, you mentioned that he's in the MCU now. This is not the MCU. No, Spider-Man is leaving. Sony is starting their own thing. Sony does not need Marvel, and Marvel does not need Spider-Man. Marvel made a bunch of money before Spider-Man came along. They don't need Spider-Man to stick around. Look, I still contest that Spider-Man never would have made it to the MCU. There never would have been a deal between Disney and Marvel and Sony had the WikiLeaks thing not happened that exposed that they were actually in talks. Because for several years, they were like, no, there's no chance. Sony doesn't want it. Marvel doesn't want it. Both Sony and Marvel were like, no, there's no chance. We're fine having separate universes. And then the WikiLeaks thing happens. So a bunch of Sony emails get dumped, and they actually revealed that they were in talks, that they actually were very, very deeply in talks, and they couldn't agree on anything from a lunch order up to who spent how much money on what. And then
a lunch order is fucking epic.
And then when that leak came out and fans started to get a little incensed, they were like, shit, now we kind of have to work something out. So both of them took kind of shitty deals to put Spider-Man in the MCU, and now they don't need one another. The Spider-Verse that they're establishing at Sony is well established. You've got not just Spider-Man, which, I mean, Marvel helped kind of establish, I'm sure, but you've also got Venom, which is tremendously successful. You've got Morbius, which people are already chomping at the bit to get into that movie. You've got all this other stuff you want to do surrounding this Spider-Verse. You want to link it all together and have your own thing. You just don't need Marvel to do that. So that's why they went ahead and signed this short deal to kind of, because they don't want an abrupt exit from Marvel. They want something a little bit softer that won't leave such a bad taste in the fans' mouths, which is what was going to happen a couple of years ago when the deal just ended and everybody was like, screw it, we're just going our separate ways. Fans were pissed. And I think that's kind of why they did this, is they wanted to have a way to kind of have a softer separation, a more easy separation from Marvel. So you're going to get one more Spider-Man movie in the MCU. He's going to appear in a couple of more movies, and then he's going to go off on his own. Now, I do think that Tom Holland's iteration of Spider-Man will be back in the MCU, kind of spotting here and there, maybe not long-term deals, or maybe he'll pop into a movie here and there. I would imagine that if I were Marvel, I would at least want him to show up in the mashup movies, the big movies, the Avengers stuff. I would imagine I'd want him in that. But the standalone Spider-Man stuff's all Sony's, and they did a lot in this trailer to set up the Spider-Verse that Sony has been trying to build. You see Michael Morbius walking by that wall that has Spider-Man's picture on it with murderer painted across it. That was the Spider-Man, that version of Spider-Man is from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. But then you see he's got the Oscorp building in the background, which the Oscorp building, the way it showed, was from the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man. But then again, at one point in the trailer, you see Michael Keaton's character, Vulture, pop up, and we all know that he's from the Marvel, the most recent iteration, the Tom Holland iteration of Spider-Man. So something is going to happen between now and when this movie comes out that is going to explain to us that somehow Spider-Man has ended up in his own universe. It's going to have a lot to do probably with whatever happens in No Way Home, which we're going to be seeing here in about 6 weeks, something like that. But so yeah, by the time we get this movie, I think in March, I think this movie is supposed to come out. I didn't look. By the time we get this movie in March, we're going to know that Spider-Man is off in his own universe now, and he's no longer part of the MCU. He's off doing his own thing, and I think this is one of the things that's going to settle that up. I think they still want to do a Sinister Six thing, which would be kind of fun. I think they're probably on better footing to do it now. There's a whole lot in the first Spider-Man trailer that says that that's a possibility. You get Doc Ock, you get the hints of Sandman, Green Goblin. I mean, so you get the hints of all these things in that first trailer. So a lot of this was setting up kind of what they're doing with their Spider-Verse moving forward. The other part of it is just that, I mean, look at that visual right there that's on the screen. It's badass. I love Jared Leto. I unapologetically love Jared Leto. I think he's a fantastic
can I tell you a
actor.
secret? I've had a crush on Jared Leto since I was a teenager when he was on that show, My So-Called Life. Oh my God.
I really thought I was one of the few people who remembered that show.
No. I've seen the whole thing, what little they did before ABC axed it. Fuck you, ABC.
Yeah.
Probably about 10 times. Oh my God. Fantastic.
But yeah, the action scenes are going to be dope as shit. I mean, there's obviously going to be a deep story that kind of goes into this, because I didn't read a lot of the comics for Morpheus, but I do know a little bit about the character, because the character of Morpheus has been other things, some of the animated stuff and things like that. But he is a very deep character. He's got a lot of weird nuance and a lot of crevices to who he is that you can tell a lot of really cool stories from. And hopefully that's what Sony's going to do with this. It looks like they are. So, I mean, the story in and of itself is a bit cookie cutter. I mean, yeah, doctor trying to fix himself of an affliction, does something crazy. It's honestly, that's kind of the base storyline for 3 or 4 different Spider-Man villains.
It reminded me a little bit of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing.
Sort of, but it's kind of, he's kind of turning himself, he can't really switch back and forth. He's going to grow into this thing, whatever it is, and he's not really going to be able to go back, necessarily. Again, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know. But, Ray, did you get a chance to check out the trailer? What are some of your thoughts?
I've not checked out the trailer, no. But, man, one thing I do know about, Marvel and Sony, they put out some good movies. At least some of the stuff that I've seen, like with Avengers. I love Avengers, man. Some of the best movies ever made. Endgame was straight fire. So I have a feeling that this one's going to be good. Like, the visuals that you're showing right now look dope as shit. And even when I get off of here, man, I'm going to check out that trailer. So I do think in March, I'm going to check that movie out for sure, man. I think it's going to be a good one. I love superhero and villain shit like this. So I haven't read any of the comics either, but this sounds like something that's going to be dope as fuck. I'm not even going to lie to you, especially with those visuals too. Hell yeah, man. How can you turn that shit down?
And vampires are cool characters most of the time.
I read a lot of vampire books.
Unless you're in Twilight, then you're not a cool vampire.
Yeah. Fuck Twilight.
Hey, now the music in it was pretty good. I did like the music in it.
In Twilight,
the soundtrack. Yeah, like the.
I kind of like Paramore, but the rest of everything else about that movie is kind of garbage. Still never saw the last 2. I only ever went and saw the first 2 because, my girlfriend wanted to go, and, I wanted my girlfriend to let me touch on her boobies, so that's kind of why I went. That's the only reason I went. I sat through those movies playing Angry Birds on my phone.
That's awesome.
But I mean, Cora, you've been really catching up with a lot of, like, comic book stuff since you've hooked up with me and Jeremy. I mean, what are some of your thoughts?
Ass Tracked. I mean, I literally watched all of it in a matter of months. So I went from not giving a shit about comic book stuff, except for seeing Iron Man and the first Thor movie, to seeing everything. WandaVision changed my world because that show, I think, it's not so much.
WandaVision was another level. That was a whole nother level.
I have no words. I'm actually speechless even talking about it. It's moving, especially the end. You know, and then when they say goodbye to each other, it's just like, oh, I'm tearing up thinking about it. But it's just, I literally feel like I'm now a Marvel fan. When before it was like, yeah, I'll watch this stuff because I love talking to Frank and Jeremy about it. And I'm actually like a Marvel fan now. So
I think one of the smartest things that Marvel did was they were like, we can go out there and make a lot of action and put these big movie stars in these cool suits and shoot laser beams in their eyes and shit. But we also maybe could try something crazy and give them all great personal stories, give them all personal tragedy to deal with, give them all personal arcs that the people watch and get wrapped up in. And I think that's been the biggest selling point for all the stuff from Marvel. I mean, the way that they've made everything kind of a different theme, the way that they've given all these characters some kind of a flaw that we can all relate to. I mean, Tony Stark being kind of the weird alcoholic, almost depressive guy. To Ant-Man being kind of that, father who's just trying to do right by his daughter and can't seem to get a lot of things to go his way. To Captain America being the man kind of out of place. I think we all feel out of place at points. There's this great job that they've done about helping us relate to these characters and not just imagine ourselves being the superhero that saves the world, but actually connecting with these characters. And I think that's one of the things that served Amy Pascal, the head of Pascal Pictures, who kind of started this whole thing when she was the president of Sony. I think that's one of the things that she's learned from Kevin Feige is it's not just about going out there and putting out the explosions and having the one-liners, is you have to get people to feel something about these characters. And I think that's one of the things they've done. I mean, you feel something about Eddie Brock's character in Venom. We're probably going to end up feeling a bit sorry for Morpheus.
Do you like the joke about Venom in the trailer, by the way? I'm Venom.
I did.
Wait.
I'm Venom. No, I'm just kidding.
That was a great moment.
That was kind of, but that was one of those Easter eggs that they had showed that this whole universe is coming together. There was actually a couple references to Venom. They actually mentioned in the trailer. They actually mentioned this is the craziest thing that happened since that thing in San Francisco, talking about what happened in the events of Venom 2. So at least that's the reference that I got out of it anyway. So I mean, yeah, this is them definitely pulling their universe together so that they can have their great big launch with whatever Spider-Man thing they want to do or the next Venom thing, or if they want to run right to a Sinister Six movie, which I think would be a mistake. But yeah, I think this trailer is badass. It's awesome. I don't really need another trailer. Just give me the movie. I know they're probably going to end up releasing one or two more, at least in some fashion. They might be little sizzle reels or something, but I mean, I just want the movie. I'm ready to see this thing. Another movie that we should have gotten, I think, about a year ago, kept getting pushed back because of production delays because of COVID. But I'm just happy that we're back in the theaters, and this is a hard date for this thing now, is in March. So this thing probably isn't going to move. I'm really excited about it. Any final thoughts from you, Ray?
Man, it's just thinking about it. I remember going to the movies to see my first Avengers movie. And that was around like March, good ass springtime, good time to go out to the theaters and watch the movies, man. School's almost getting ready to let out. Kids are gonna be motherfucking loving that shit. So I can't wait. This is gonna be like a nice, dope, dark movie, I feel. And just like you said, this shit's gonna be dope, man. I definitely do think so.
Cora, how about you?
I'm eager to see it, to say the least. I want to see it.
Yeah, I'm
and I hope there's a follow-up, by the way. I hope it's not just a standalone. I hope they maybe make a trilogy out of it.
Oh, no. They're building their Spider-Verse. We're going to see more of Jared Leto in this role.
Good.
We're probably going to see him. I mean, there's a rumor. I don't believe it's true because Blade is going to stay in the MCU. There's a rumor that Blade's going to appear in this movie somewhere. I don't believe it because Blade is an MCU character. They want to bring him into the MCU. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, there's a couple different rumors about people that may or may not pop up in this movie. I mean, we've already seen a couple different scenes with Michael Keaton's character. Who knows who else is going to pop up? So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think about the Morpheus trailer and what are some of the things that you guys expect to see when the movie drops in March. Lady Cora, what's the next thing we're going to be talking about tonight?
Ooh, the next one, we're going to take a turn to another nerdy fandom verse. a couple. Let's see. The next trailer of interest is the first look at Tamura Morrison in the Book of Boba Fett, joined by Ming-Na Wen. I might be chopping that up. The trailer shows. Ooh! The trailer shows us that Boba Fett is trying to build his own empire in the void left by Jabba the Hutt. Ray, what did you think of the first trailer for Boba Fett?
I didn't see the first trailer.
Well, let me tell you, I saw it, and they open it basically with him showing up at like, you remember in Kill Bill where Lucy Liu's character shows up at the council and just pretty much just takes over with all of them sitting around the table saying, "Well, I'm the new boss, bitches." Like, take it or leave it, you know? It's kind of a scene like that with like Jabba the Hutt's generals basically sitting around a table, and he shows up and he's like, "Well, you know, I'm going to actually listen to you, and I'm not going to rule with fear like Jabba did." And then, you know, he has, why am I blanking on her name?
Ming-Na Wen.
Ming-Na Wen's character is kind of like his number 2. And it's just this really nice opening scene. They show you a few shots of, you know, Jabba's empire, the buildings, the classic, you know, floating one that, you know, we saw in the Star Wars movie where, you know, they were supposed to be dropped in that giant mouth. And they just kind of show the power shift dynamic within Jabba's core group there and give you a hint of, and then the end kind of with like a Game of Thrones kind of scene of him sitting in Jabba's chair. So that's kind of what you missed.
Nice.
It was good. The music was fantastic in the background, very dramatic, and kind of pulled you in and makes you want more as well. So there's multiple sensory experiences there. The visuals, the costuming, the lighting, the makeup, what CG there was, you really couldn't tell it was CG. I mean, this is just getting better and better. Looks really good. I'll be honest, I didn't have much interest in this prior to seeing the trailer. Oh, great, another offshoot. You know, that Disney just trying to milk the, you know, the Star Wars dollar, you know. But this actually might be really fucking good. It's not going to be WandaVision, don't get me wrong. That's like, you know, a high I'm never going to get again. But I actually look forward to this. What do you think, Frank?
One of the comparisons I've been hearing about this trailer, and I can't help, I watched it right before we went live, is it got a lot of comparisons to The Godfather. And Ray, you've seen at least the first Godfather film, right?
Yes.
There is a spot in the trailer where he's talking to these people. He says, "I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial." And all I was getting from that scene was Brando sitting there saying, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse." That's kind of what this is he's trying to, because remember, this all takes place after the events of Return of the Jedi in Star Wars canon. So the Empire's been destroyed, the Rebel Alliance is taken back over, and they're trying to rebuild government, the Republic and all that, but there is still this power vacuum when it comes to the scum and villainy, to use the Star Wars term, of the people that are out here on the different planets. And that's what he's trying to do, is he's trying to fill this power vacuum that has been established by the death of Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. I think it's fantastic. I love I just love the whole feel of the trailer. Even the musical notes. It sounded like some kind of weird kind of thing out of The Godfather. I think that's what they're going for here, because Marvel and Disney has been really good about these themes, and I think Disney's carried that over to some of the Disney plus Star Wars stuff. Because Ray, I don't know how much you like westerns, but that's what The Mandalorian is.
I love westerns.
It's The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is a space western. That's what it is. It is this lone guy roaming the plains on his horse, doing what he's got to do just to get a few bucks to eat that week or something like that. That's exactly what The Mandalorian is doing. The bounty hunter order has fallen. There's no more work from the Empire because they're gone. So he's just roaming around the planet from planet to planet, picking up some bounties here and there just to keep himself going. He is that lone plains drifter, but he's doing it in space.
That's interesting.
And even the musical notes in that series sound like something straight out of like a Sergio Leone kind of western, Fistful of Dollars, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of wondering what the theme of this is going to be. Is this going to be a space mobster thing, which I think would sound fantastic? I'm excited as hell about this series because all of them have a different theme, they have a different feel, they have a different thing that motivates the characters, even though they all exist kind of in the same universe. And I dig the fact that Tamira Morrison, who plays Boba Fett, is trying to get back into the game, and he's trying to get his little slice of the pie now that the Empire's fallen, and there is this big thing there that he can take his little piece of. I think it sounds cool as hell.
Kind of agree with that, honestly. I've never been a Star Wars fan. I hated Star Wars and Star Trek. Kind of a little bit too nerdy for me. I mean, I like my anime and manga, don't get me wrong, but that's just, I don't know, a little bit too much on nerd base for me. But if this is like a space-style mobster-type story, or has a nice space mobster-type feel to it, I think I'd fuck with it, honestly. I mean, I had to learn all the characters and get into the, fandom and whatnot, but I'd give it a shot, honestly. I think it sounds pretty dope.
I don't think you need to get really into the fandom. I mean, I could tell you everything you need to know about Boba Fett. I mean, his dad was one of the clone troopers. He saw his dad killed in episode, I think, 3. And there's this little scene where a young Boba Fett is picking up his dad's helmet from the field of battle, and then he puts it to his head like this, and that's where Boba Fett is born, kind of. And we really don't see him again, well, except for the expanded universe stuff, like the books and things like that. We don't really see him again until The Empire Strikes Back. He's the bounty hunter that they send after Han Solo. He gets Han Solo. He takes Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. They rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt, and in the ensuing fight, Boba Fett is killed. I'm sure they're gonna figure that one out and explain how he gets out of that mess at some point in the series as well. And then he ends up showing back up in this last season of The Mandalorian. So, which is interesting, but they're both Mandalorian warriors. The Mandalorians are a race of bounty hunters, a race of warriors.
Gotcha.
And they all dress in that kind of suit. Some of them have they approach it differently. There's actually different religions in Mandalore, so they kind of approach what they do a little bit differently, and that causes a little bit of chaos. But I mean, that's all you really need to know. I mean, he managed to escape a giant monster buried in the sand that eats people over 1,000 years. And he ends up where he is now. So, I mean, you can probably find a quick YouTube video that explains to you who Boba Fett is and kind of give you a good primer going into the series. But yeah, I really dig the fact that they're making this a bit of a mob level kind of thing.
You wouldn't expect that from I was gonna say that's not Disney doing that, right?
It is, but they've been giving a lot of creative license to the creators. And, I've talked about Bob Chapek, the guy that's running Disney now, and how he's trying to take a lot of that creative control away. I think that's going to end up hurting the product we get in the long run. But for right now, Bob Iger, who was the CEO of Disney, the guy that was running everything, he basically just let the creators do what they want to do. So Kevin Feige went and hired guys, or Kathleen Kennedy for Star Wars specifically, goes out and hired people who are big fans of the product, big fans of the history and of the lore. And so they comb through all this stuff with a fine-tooth comb, and they're like, I want to tell this story, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to tell this in a really cool way. And they get these ancillary characters like Boba Fett, who, like I said, in the expanded universe, the books and stuff, has a bigger presence. But in the movies, not so much. Is very much an ancillary background character. Famous one to be sure, a popular one, but he's not significant like the Luke Skywalker or Princess Leia or Han Solo. But they're telling a lot of really cool stories around everything because that Star Wars universe is gigantic. I mean, you're talking about thousands of planets of stories that can be told. And I understand that in the movies, the episodic films, you kind of stick to the Skywalker storylines. I get it. But there are so many other stories out there you can tell. Stuff about the Mandalore, stuff about the Hutts. There's in some of the expanded universe stuff, they've gone into great detail about the Hutts, the kind of people that Jabba were, and there's whole families and stuff like that. They've gone deep into that lore. So I mean, there's a whole lot of stories that can be told, and you've got a lot of people who are really, really interested in telling these stories accurately, correctly, and with great respect that are in there creating this stuff now. I mean, you've got Kevin Feige, who absolutely cares about the product that's being put out there, and is a fan, by the way. You have Jon Favreau, who is a huge fan of all this. Dave Filoni, who is a huge fan of all this, and was actually one of the creators behind Clone Wars, the cartoon, the animated stuff. He cares a lot about this, all these stories and everything. And you get all these people involved in it that really want to tell these great stories, and that's why this stuff has been so damn good. I'm super fucking excited to see this shit. If it's going to be like Star Wars mob movie in space, I'm all for it. We got the mob movie, the Western, and then we have all the episodic stuff and all the other movies. Dude, they're telling killer stories out of this universe right now.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something you wouldn't when I think of Star Wars, I wouldn't picture anything like that. A Star Wars mob style movie. that's something you wouldn't expect from the genre. I think that's what's going to make it so great in and of itself. So I'd definitely be down to check that out, just because it's so different.
I would imagine when that comes out here in about, I think it comes out December 28th, I think is when it comes out, I think. Yeah, I think December 28th when that thing drops.
Oh, shit.
We're definitely going to be breaking that shit down episode by episode as well. So I think it's going to be great. And then eventually we're going to get Mandalorian. Hawkeye comes out here in a few weeks. There's a lot of really cool stuff at Disney Plus that you'll be putting out on both the
Just in
Star
time
Wars
for
and
winter
Marvel.
when there's not as much to do outside, so it's fucking perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So this Jabba the Hutt thing, it's an actual series, not a movie?
Boba Fett is a series. It's going to be a 6-episode series.
Okay.
6 episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that shit out then, because we just got a Disney Plus subscription, so I'm gonna check that shit out for sure.
Yeah, one of the things I also found out when I was reading earlier is they announced back in December that the Rangers of the New Republic, which is another show that they're working on, the Ahsoka show, which is coming out, and this one, are all planned to culminate in a climactic story event, as was quoted back in December of last year. They have not yet started work at all on Rangers of the New Republic, so I would imagine that the Ahsoka series, which is actually getting ready to come out soon, this Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian are all going to interact at some point in like a big mashup kind of on itself on Disney Plus, maybe even in film form. So I'm curious as to what that is, because I felt like, and I may be wrong considering that all this stuff that it was supposed to interact with these other things. I felt like Boba Fett and Din Djarin, who was the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian TV show, I felt like both of them were going to kind of come to blows at some point, because they both have different ideas about the Mandalore place in the universe. And then you've also got Katie Sackhoff's character in The Mandalorian, who seems to want control of the Mandalore people herself. I thought there was going to be this 3-way battle at some point between them. I'm not so sure that's going to happen now. But there's definitely something brewing between the Mandalorian on the Mandalorian TV show and Katie Sackhoff's character. But I don't know if Boba Fett will be involved in it now, if there's something else that they want him to be a part of. I'm not sure. But I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. I think me and Jeremy broke down every episode of the second season. I think we did most, if not all, the first season. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more Mandalorian and Star Wars talk coming in the next probably 6 or 8 months. Because I have a feeling this series is going to be fan-damn-tastic. What's going on, Randy Viper? He said, "Oh my God, my favorite Ray Rollins in The Harsh Truth." He said, "This is better than the hentai stream." I was telling Jeremy and the guys last night, I was like, I swear to God, as I was digging up some of the pictures for this thing for you guys, that one thing I noticed is that all these girls have tremendously large eyes that are way too big for their head and gigantic boobs. I was like,
absolutely. That's the main anime trope.
Admit it. This is just your guys' way of watching porn without actually watching porn.
Oh boy.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. I see some people are finally starting to trickle in. I know I actually started, usually I let the show go for a couple of minutes before I actually start talking, but I've been trying to do it a little bit differently lately. I don't like having that big, 10 minutes of dead air right at the beginning of the show. I feel like it chases some people off, so I'm doing it differently. But before we move on, I just want to remind you guys that we do have a Discord server, and I would absolutely love for you guys to go check that out. The link is in the description below. Down in the Discord server, the movie talk never stops. We're always talking about something. You'll see right there we have little sections for WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki. There's probably going to be some more stuff popping up there as time goes on. We'll probably be talking about a little bit of music. That's one of the things that Jeremy and I have always wanted to talk about on here. We just haven't gotten around to it until tonight, of course, with one of our later topics. But go down and check out our Discord server where the talks about movies never stop. And Lady Cora, what is our next topic we're going to be talking about tonight?
Well, Jeremy's not here, so it's a little sad.
I am heartbroken. I really wanted to give him this live.
Shout out to Jeremy. You're going to go, damn it, when you come back. But the Boondock Saints are back. Director Troy Duffy has reunited with Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flanery for Boondock Saints 3, a new installment of the saga of fraternal twin Irish brothers Connor and Murphy McManus, who go on a vigilante trek, I believe. The film will shoot next May when Flannery has completed his work on the series The Boys and Reedus is freed up from The Walking Dead. Frank, do I have to ask, how excited are you? Because I know you two are big fans of this franchise. I've been on the show with you, and you've gone 20, 30 minutes just talking about it. I've not seen any of the movies, so I'm not an expert, but I know you are.
So happy, could dance. I wish Jeremy was here right now. So happy, want to touch myself. So happy. Look, I came across this story. I think it was either Monday night or Tuesday as I was looking through stuff, and I was like, please, please, please tell me Jeremy is not going to find this out because I really badly wanted to hit him with this live on camera. You guys see this? That's my Boondock Saints lamp. It's the two guns with the silence with the suppressors. Yeah, I fucking love this entire series. Look, I have problems generally with the long times between sequels, but I feel like it's actually helped a lot with this series. We had the original Boondock Saints, which kind of, it had a lot working against it in the beginning. It was not a movie that a lot of people were high on trying to pick up and promote and market anyway. And then as they were trying to promote it and market it, was right after the whole Columbine mess when all those two douchebag kids went and did all that bad stuff. So so a lot of people weren't very into it. And somebody took a chance and went ahead and bought it or promoted it and marketed it and put it out there. And it didn't do great in theaters, but it built up this huge cult following, which culminated in these two guys getting together and doing the second one. Now, the second one, obviously, and for those of you who've seen the second one, it obviously ends in a big cliffhanger. The boys are in jail after that whole really big gunfight at the end. The whole craziness. You'll have to see the movies to really understand how it all goes down. But that's how the movie ends, is them looking out the window of jail. So we're like, that can't be where it ends for the McManus brothers, right? And I do know that this is a huge passion project for Sean Patrick Flanery. For Norman Reedus, too. But Sean Patrick Flanery, this whole thing was written by him. He was a bartender in Boston. And he went out to see a movie one night, was like, this action movie sucks. It's so terrible. I'm going to write a good one. And wrote what would become the Boondock Saints. And now this thing has become kind of this low-key phenomenon. You make these movies for what equals bus fare. I mean, these movies are almost nothing to make. And it gets huge receptions. I mean, I don't know exactly what the last movie made off the top of my head, but it's huge. These have huge cult followings. People go out and get the tattoos the boys have on their hands and shit like that, on their backs. I mean, they go out. I think Jeremy even has one. It's like,
wow.
This whole thing has become a phenomenon, but they are very, very specific about how they want these movies made. And if they're not perfect, then Flanery will not do one. One of the quotes from Duffy, he said, I didn't have a chance to make a graphic of this, but he said, the fans have loved these characters for 20 years. They use terms of endearment like the brothers or the boys when they refer to them. We left them in jail at the end of Boondocks 2, and we want to know what happened to them. Norman and Sean have been driving force to keep this franchise on track and break some new ground story-wise. The fans have been waiting. They literally ask us about it daily, and I'm really excited to be working with Impossible Dream, which is the production company they're making it with, to make Boondock Saints 3 a reality. And also, what was the one thing I read? That making this third film was turbulent, that Flanery in 2017 tweeted that both he and Reedus were no longer involved in the Boondock Saints 3 because of disagreements. Basically because they care very, very much about how these characters evolve. And if there is one slight piece of dialogue, one scene, one action out of place, they will not do it. That's one of the reasons why we get these long waits between these movies, because these guys want these movies to be perfect for what they are. Not not Dr. Zhivago, not Gone with the Wind. People love these movies because they don't pretend to be something they're not. They just are what they are. They're entertaining. You get emotionally involved with the characters, especially in the second one. You get really involved with the characters. Yeah, I am happy as hell that this movie is finally going to be working. They start filming in, I think it said May or March. I think May. But, I'm happy. I really wish Jeremy was here to kind of give us some thoughts on it. Maybe we'll go back and revisit this next week when he's on.
We may have to give him a 5-minute. What would he say about it? How pissed he is he missed this moment.
Yeah. Ray, have you ever seen the Boondock Saints?
I have not. No, I'm not a big movie person, so that's something I missed out on. I heard the name get tossed around a few times, but if it's something as big in action, and it's a vigilante movie too, you said. So if it's something that's
I believe it's like a shoot 'em up movie, isn't it?
If it's something like that, I'm gonna check that shit out.
I think it's I think one of the reasons that it resonates with people is that it's more than that, because in the beginning of the first movie, these are just guys who are living in Boston. And what ends up happening is there's a gangster who is running roughshod over the town and causing all kinds of chaos. And they basically have had after I forget exactly how it worked. Somebody that they were connected to was hurt by this violence, and that was kind of the last straw for them. So they just get bent and go wiping out gangsters all over Boston.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, see, that sounds like something I'd like. So I might give that a shot. Honestly, that sounds like something I'd like. And just because you love it so much and you're selling it hard as hell right now, I'll check that shit out. I really will.
Yeah,
Boondock Saints.
It's definitely an independent film. And independent movies are very, very good. I tell people all the time, if you're bitching about how the only movies they ever make anymore are superhero movies or sequels, bullshit. You can find, I could pull up 3 or 4 theaters within a 20-minute drive of me right now that are playing some really cool independent films. Or small budget things that don't rely on explosions and one-liners and naked women and stupid shit because they have no real substance. I mean, there are some movies that you can find in theaters every week that are really good movies if you just want to go watch them. The only problem is nobody wants to go watch anything other than Marvel or DC anymore.
Right.
It's too bad because there's so many wonderful movie standalone stories that are based on books that can inspire people to get back into reading. It's too bad.
And big ups to the not co-host, but stars of the movie for wanting to wait to do the movie till everything is perfect. Like, you see a whole bunch of movie stars just want to get the bag and do the movie, and they don't give a fuck about how everything's done. But these guys truly care about the franchise, man. So big ups to them for that, for waiting till everything's, the way it's supposed to be. That should ensure that it's going to be Boondock Saints going to be Boondock Saints 3 rather is going to be a perfect movie, man. So if they're working with it, they're co-signing it essentially, it's going to be dope for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm also very, very excited to see Sean Patrick Flannery in the upcoming season of The Boys on Amazon. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how good this show is. It's I don't know if you guys have ever watched it. It's basically what would it be like if this League of Superheroes were actually fucking psychotic, sociopathic, just terrible people. It's something. It's something. It's definitely a dark look at what could happen if these people were actually assholes. But for his part, Duffy did say where we're going with it. This actually leans into a little bit of the plot of the movie, at least kind of the approach they're taking towards the relationship of the brothers. He says that where we're going is the brothers are older. They are coming into a brand new world that is not like the one they left, and they are at odds. One wants to continue while the other one doesn't. But there's a new enemy out there, not like the traditional ones they've faced. That's the thing that is timely about this one. They also said they asked their fan base once, who would you most like to see Connor and Murphy kill? There were like 4,500 answers, and some were biblical. People just don't give you one-word answers. The number one answer was politicians. I wrote a scene right now where one of them says, "Are you fucking kidding? You can't kill a politician." And the other is saying, "Are you kidding me? They're the ones doing it all." So maybe there will be a little bit of commentary in this one as well. I think there's been a little bit of commentary in the first 2 movies as well. It just hasn't been so overbearing. I think these movies have been. I think this franchise has been kind of contained in itself very, very well over the first 2 films, without really approaching too much shit going on in real life. But yeah, I could not be more excited. I was starting to lose hope. I mean, with Norman Reedus not leaving Walking Dead anytime soon, at least that I know of. And with Sean Patrick Flannery being extremely busy, not only is he writing and producing and stuff like that, he's also a musician, and he's into like Taekwondo. He's got his own Taekwondo team that travels around and fights in tournaments.
Oh shit,
wow.
Dude! He actually showed up for Boondock Saints 2. He actually showed up on set for that like 2 weeks later than everybody else because him and his crew that they train in Southern California, they were going to Europe or something like that for a Taekwondo tournament, and they were
man, that's pretty dope.
So he showed up way later than everybody else to film some of his scenes. So yeah, I mean they're both busy guys right now. They're both definitely in demand. So I'm glad we're finally able to say that this thing is going to be in front of a camera shooting sometime in March. I think it's going to be badass. Mikkel Cloud chat says March 4th, 2022. That sounds about right. Dude, I'm happy as hell. I like I said, I really, really wanted to drop this on Jeremy on camera. I wanted to see him wet himself. But if Jeremy's watching right now, I don't think Jeremy's watching right now. If he was, he'd probably be all over the chat right now with a lot of volcano and eggplant and squirting emojis. But But yeah, I'm stupid fucking excited about this whole damn thing. I could not be happier. Ray, any final thoughts from you before we move on?
Listen, like I said, I never seen anything with dealing with the Boondock Saints, but you sold it hard enough for me to want to check it out. So I'm at least gonna check out the first movie on Netflix or whatever the hell it is. I'm definitely gonna give the first movie a shot for sure. And this sounds like something I'd like, honestly. It really does.
And it's not just a shoot 'em up. There is a scene towards the end of the second movie between Billy Connolly's character and Peter Fonda's character. Because Peter Fonda and Billy Connolly is their father. You don't really find this out to the end of the first movie. Spoiler alert.
Oh, spoiler.
Come on.
Thank you, Frank.
It's all right. It's all right. You'll figure it all out. But there is this scene between Billy Connolly and Peter Fonda's character towards the end of the movie. I mean, it's not quite the diner scene from Heat, but it is still really good dialogue. And it's nice to see these two characters that have been at odds for 40, 50 years, that have had this bitter hatred between them, sit down in this atrium full of plants, and they're just like slicing little bits of tomato, dipping them in salt and eating them, with some like old-timey record player from the 20s playing some tune from back then. And they're having this conversation about everything that has existed between them, this animosity over the course of decades. It was a really poignant scene that leads into the big gunfight where, everybody dies. But it's also really good dialogue. Again, you get really invested in these characters really, really quickly. Especially in the second one, because we start the second one where these guys have gotten away from it all. They're living in Ireland. They're living a quiet life, just farming, herding sheep and shit like that. And then something happens, and they're like, "Well, we have to step up and deal with this now. Nobody else can." So, and that's what leads them back into the second movie. But yeah, Ray, I know you're more of a book person than a movie person, but if you're going to give 4 hours-ish to the TV, watch the first two of these and get really wrapped up in the vigilante stuff. Also, the comedy in these movies is fucking fantastic. It's like, oh my god, it's just so funny. Like the whole, in the second one where they're having the dream sequence or whatever it is, where they're talking to their buddy Rocco from the first movie, the whole thing about Duke fucking Wayne and big balls and things like that, it's just so damn funny. The whole motivational speech that he's giving them. Oh, it's just fantastic. But yeah, go check out the Boondocks movies, and obviously keep an eye out for the Boondock Saints 3. As we get more news on that, we're definitely going to talk about it. And man, am I mad that I couldn't get Jeremy's reaction on camera to this. But
I know.
But oh well.
We'll give him a chance to speak his mind later about it.
We will. We definitely will.
Be right back. I'll be right back, guys.
You'll be right back. You'll be right back. I didn't want to take this minute while Ray steps away for a minute to go. Say hi to the chat real quick. What's going on, Penny the Pooh? He was in here early. GMTA Entertainment. What's up? Randy Viper, my man. Mikkel Clow. Happy birthday, Mikkel. Always good to see you around here, my buddy. Thanks to all you guys. Viewership is finally starting to get up there where it usually is. Again, I'm trying not to have that big dead air time in the beginning of videos anymore. I feel like it was probably hurting the videos, so I'm going to try to not do that from now on. I think I've got it figured out how I can do it in the way that I like. It's getting a little bit more technically easier to do for me every day as I'm starting to learn how some of this technical crap works. Because for those of you who don't know, I am computer stupid. I have to teach myself all this stuff, and I don't always have a lot of people to draw on. So there's a lot of reading in my downtime on websites trying to figure out how to use some of this crap. But while we're waiting for Ray to come back,
Queens, where the Rolling Loud Music Festival was held Thursday. 30-year-old Fetty Wap, whose legal name is Willie Jr. Maxwell II, very serious sounding, pleaded not guilty and was ordered held without bail at a virtual hearing on Friday. The Associated Press reported that. I don't know, Frank. What do you think about the Fetty Wap catching a drug charge? Because let me tell you, they picked the best time to arrest him. He was on the ticket. They knew he was going to be there. Perfect timing, And from what I know, it was more about and that's why he was arrested by the FBI, because it was more about the movement of the drugs across state lines, not so much the drug charge itself. Am I right about that?
Oh, there's a whole lot that goes into it. I was reading through this, trying to underline some stuff. Let's talk for a minute about what he got caught with. For one, this is not some guy who got caught with like a little baggie of marijuana in a bowl or something like that. Authorities said Friday that they recovered $1.5 million in cash, numerous fentanyl pills, 16 kilos of cocaine, 2 kilos of heroin, two 9mm handguns, 2 other pistols. I don't know what other pistols means. They could put them all together. A rifle and ammunition over the course of this investigation. Yeah, he was moving major weight, as they say in the movies.
Fetty Wap, I'm very curious. Was he into selling drugs before he became big in the music world, or did he get into selling drugs?
Yes, he was. He was.
Okay.
As far as I know, he was. And it's a sad thing for him because, man, I remember, because I'm more in tune to the hip hop scene than you guys are. At least I think I am, because I'm the young one.
What do people think of it then?
Well, of his career, a lot of people are disappointed.
The drug charges. Are people surprised?
I would say so, especially now, because this dude really was popping in the hip hop and rap scene in 2015. Like, I remember hearing maybe 2 or 3 of his songs on the radio a lot in the summer of 2015, and he's never really popped off more since then. So maybe he was doing this to kind of get more money to support his rich guy lifestyle, because it's just sad because he did have a lot of promise. I did like a few of his songs. And a lot of people, main majority of like the big hip hop YouTubers, are really disappointed in him, man. It's sad too, because he did have a lot of potential. You would think, like, why would you do all this shit that can land you in jail for years, decades?
And you have an established music career, which is bankable.
Exactly. Put more work into your music, not into the streets, so to speak. So it's sad for him, man. But
he's fucked.
What are you gonna do? He also has 90 different kids by 90 different baby mamas.
He does.
Fun fact. He does. No, swear to God, he does.
I think 5 kids by 5 different women, and one of the kids actually passed away at the age of 4, very unfortunately.
Yep.
Oh,
it's sad, man.
I don't understand. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I mean, I lived a very kind of normal life as I was a kid. I mean, I knew some people, sure, but I mean, nothing like this. It boggles my mind that people can reach a certain level of success and still not be able to let go of the stupid shit from the past.
Exactly.
I mean, right now, they're saying that he distributed more than 100 kilograms of cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and crack across Long Island and New Jersey over a year-long period beginning in June of 2019. And he's also been charged with using firearms in connection with drug trafficking. Ugh,
this dude's on kingpin status right there.
Oh, absolutely. The pipeline of drugs in this investigation, says Michael J. Driscoll, who's the assistant director in charge of the FBI. He says the pipeline of drugs in this investigation ran thousands of miles from West Coast to the communities in our area. So this is bi-coastal. So that crosses state lines. That makes it all federal. He was taken into custody shortly after he arrived at Citi Field. He had been slated to perform at 4:45 p.m. that night, according to the festival's website. 100 kilos of coke, heroin, and fentanyl and crack across Long Island, New York. Jeez,
that's almost 200 to 300 pounds.
Did they use the postal service, or did they put on a private plane?
There's actually, I don't know how they moved it specifically. There's 3
or 5
people involved. So.
I want to say they did actually use the postal service.
That's
there
what I thought.
There was like trucks that had like little small compartments where they could hide the stuff and ship it.
That's right. They took postal trucks that weren't actual postal trucks and drove them across country to evade detection.
Yep. That's what I heard.
That's right.
So and it's just, this dude, I want to say he was pretty young too. I don't know how old he is, but I want to say he was pretty young. It's just a sad situation overall, man.
A lot of these guys are in their 20s. It says 3 of the defendants have already been charged in connection with the case. Let's see. But now it's charges against former New Jersey Corrections Officer Anthony Kainchi, now 23, Brian Sullivan, 26, and Anthony Leonardi, 47. Let's see, what else? Prosecutor said these brothers, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Wiggins, participated. Mr. Maxwell, blah, blah, blah. So they said that the Leonardi brothers, Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Wiggins, participated in the purchase and transport of drugs from the West Coast, while Mr. Maxwell, Fetty Wap, was a kilogram-level redistributor, and Mr. Kanji transported cocaine to New Jersey. I don't think it goes into specifics of how they did it, but I don't know. Those guys get pretty crafty with the way they move their product these days.
Yes. Did you ever see that movie,
absolutely.
Traffic?
Oh, yeah.
putting the drugs in the dolls.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was, yeah.
Let's see. It says that with these charges, carry a minimum sentence of 10 years and a maximum of life in prison. I'm willing to bet it's going to be a little bit more than 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think
100%.
He doesn't have like any murder charges or anything, does he?
No. Well, as far as I know, no. I mean, as far as I know, he seemed to be a pretty clean-cut dude before this.
I would imagine that, like, if his record's not too terrible before this, that maybe he's not going to get life. But yeah, it's not looking.
He's going to get some years for sure. He's going to get some years. That's guaranteed at this point.
He's only 30, right? Is that the article said? 30?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds about right.
God, he's looking at least 25. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert in sentencing and stuff like that, but I would say he's got to get at least 25. If he gets hit even halfway, I would imagine he's getting a couple of decades. I don't understand how some of these people that, like, they get famous, they can't let go of the shit from the past. It's like I've got millions of dollars coming into me. People love me everywhere I go. But there's something I get out of dealing cocaine in New Jersey that I can't get from my bank account being loaded with all kinds of dollar bills. You know, I wonder if it's like the adventure aspect. You know?
Maybe. Or honestly, what it could be is that could be his method of supporting the people that he grew up with. Maybe he's getting some money off of this or giving them jobs, you know, resupplying the shit. And that's how they're getting paid.
Isn't that what the posse's supposed to be for, though? You just pay them to stand around and make you feel good about yourself. I mean, doesn't that seem to be a lot easier than actually going through the trouble of, you know, procuring and transporting
but that makes sense to us. That makes sense to us. We're not, you know, if we get in that position, we're not going to do no shit like that. You got to think of how they're thinking. So
I lay low now, and I'm poor. I don't have nearly the money I'd like to have, and I'm still laying low. I'm not there trying to hustle. At least not doing illegal shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I actually had to go look up what happened to his eye. I didn't realize he was born with glaucoma in both eyes, and they couldn't save his left eye.
Yep.
Because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He looks like a damn half a zombie.
Half a zombie. I love it.
I mean, I feel bad for that part of it, but I mean, the rest of it, no, you did it all yourself. You're moving keys.
No, yeah.
Key after key after key of all kinds of bad shit, especially that fentanyl.
Oh, that's that scary shit.
Dude, fentanyl's no joke. I mean, it's like, I remember when I was a kid,
Kills
it was
people.
like everybody was like afraid of cocaine. Like the whole thing with like Len Bias. I mean, you might remember, I don't know if you remember it, but you might know what I'm talking about, Ray. Len Bias.
I know Prince. That's all I need to know.
Len Bias was a guy who in 1980-something got drafted #1 overall by the Celtics. And I think either the night of or the night after the NBA draft, he went to some party and some girl was all up on him. She's like, hey, you should try this cocaine. Did a couple lines of cocaine, his fucking heart exploded.
Damn.
The night after he got drafted #1 overall by the fucking Celtics. And that was before fentanyl. That was when fentanyl was cut into cocaine. Now they're mixing fentanyl in that shit. That's why I'm telling my kids, don't snort anything. Nothing. No. Because they're like, one like little bitty like pinch of fentanyl can kill like 75 people and shit. And I'm like, the fuck, dude? Why would you even handle that stuff? You can't even handle that stuff safely.
Right.
It's like, there was a video I saw the other day on YouTube about a cop that they had busted some guy with some fentanyl, and some of it came open and got on the cop. And he was having a really shitty reaction or something like that.
Yep. They had to use the overdose kit on him.
Yeah.
He wasn't breathing.
Yeah,
that was like in the last month or two.
Yeah, you can't be anywhere near that shit without it almost killing you. I'm like, why would you want to be involved in that at all? That's like me running around with a nuclear bomb in my trunk trying to sell it to somebody.
Yeah, I think Fetty Wap's going to definitely get prison time. And I think he's potentially maybe going to be a good example to people.
I hope so. I definitely hope so. It's just
teach people what not to do.
One thing I can say though, once he gets out and then he puts out his next album after that, his music's gonna pop. His music career is gonna be up and rolling again. Hopefully, maybe.
It depends on when he gets out.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna let him record much in prison.
No,
He's probably
not at
gonna
all.
try to get probation or like stay at home shit, but I doubt he'll get that. With
No,
federal
he's not
jail.
going to get
for
that.
this.
Hell
Not for
no.
this.
No.
Not for that.
No.
No. If he turns over on everybody, he might get like 15 with parole after 10.
But then people in the music industry, the whole rap game is not going to mess with him after that.
But he's not going to have any prison
So-
when he gets out. So, yeah.
Either way, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation.
I would imagine he's looking at least 25. That's my guess. Maybe even more. I mean, you're also talking about gun charges. If they can actually pin any deaths on him, who the hell knows? Probably something like that too. He's looking at least 25. That's my guess.
Ooh.
But the moral of the story is, don't get involved in drugs, kids. Doesn't work. Not selling.
Yeah,
anyway.
it does not.
Not selling them anyway. I'm all for legalizing.
Selling them or doing them.
I'm all for legalizing marijuana, but the rest of the stuff, nah, keep it illegal. It's just too dangerous. Nobody ever died from a marijuana overdose. At least not that I know of. Not that I've ever heard of. So, yeah, let's know your limits, kids. Know your limits. But anyway, any final thoughts on Fetty Wap getting arrested on massive drug charges, Ray?
No.
He's screwed. That's it.
Pretty much.
That's it.
I hope he uses some of that drug money to get a very good team of lawyers.
Well, I don't know how good any lawyer is, but I mean, whatever. You need a legal team that consists of Johnny Cochran, Jesus, and
Jesus.
Who invented
Spider-Man.
Law? Who invented law? Get that guy in there too. Whoever invented law.
What is Supreme Court justices? How's that?
You need all of them that have ever lived.
There we go. All 9 of them.
All 9 of them. But anyway, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. What do you think of the whole Fetty Wap situation? Getting arrested right before he's getting ready to go on stage. Probably looking a long, long time in prison for selling a whole lot of drugs to probably a whole lot of people.
Yes.
Go down in the comments below and let us know. And before we move on to our final story, I just want to remind you guys that we are on Patreon. And for just $5 a month, you can support us and what we do here on the channel. You won't get nothing for it. You'll get $25 in free movie tickets every month that we usually give away on the first Thursday show of every month. Not going to be today, but because I've been slacking on it really, really bad over the last couple of months because things have been very, very busy, dealt with COVID, dealt with going back to work, blah, blah, blah. I kind of slipped from all of it, but I am going to make it up to you guys here in the next couple weeks. But you got to be on the Patreon if you want to get it made up to you. It's going to be more than $25 the first time. Shh, don't tell anybody. But I do have plans to make it up to you guys who have been supporting us on Patreon for the last couple of months. There will be a whole lot of movie tickets going out in the next couple of months. Get hooked up on the Patreon. Link is right there. It's all in the description below. It helps support us and what we do here, and it helps put something back into the community at the movie theaters. Again, I don't do this to try to boost the box office for any one movie. We need to try to get out there and support everybody who works at the box office, at the theaters, at the concession stand, support the theaters. These people were all without jobs for most of the last 18 or 20 months. We need to get back out there. We need to get supporting the people that work at our local theaters. And that's the whole point of this whole thing, is to get people out there seeing movies again. So we hope you'll support us through the Patreon, and I'll give you an opportunity to help support them by buying some movie tickets, or maybe just buying some popcorn at the concession stand. You never know. But Lady Cora, what is the last topic we've got tonight?
Well, it's one that a little controversial, but very relevant. Lines are being drawn between Netflix employees and Dave Chappelle over jokes he made in his most recent special called The Closer. Some employees of the streamer are upset over jokes they consider to be homophobic and are voicing their frustrations with CEO Reed Hastings. For his part, Hastings has relented a little, saying that he, quote, wished he would have handled things differently, end quote. Frank, what are your thoughts on the Chappelle situation?
I don't know what to think of the way Reed Hastings handled any of this stuff, because I don't know all the facts. I don't think anybody knows all the facts. There are some things that happen internally at businesses that never make it out to the public. However, it's kind of there's so many different angles to see this situation from. From one angle, I do really want comedians to be able to go out there and tell jokes. But at the same time, I don't want any one group of people to be attacked. I do think that some groups, they do like to be the center of attention. And they tend to be the center of attention by going out and screaming at the sky, this person said something that hurts my feelings. Comedians do need to be allowed to tell jokes. I'm gonna put out one kind of unpopular opinion right now. I've seen The Closer, and I gotta be honest, it wasn't as funny as a lot of people make it out to be. There were some good jokes in it, and Chappelle is a master comedian when it comes to writing material and delivering it. But the last couple of things he's done have been more social commentary than comedy. And while I think the jokes were good, I don't think it was a great comedy special overall. That's an unpopular opinion, I know. I know a lot of people see this are like, Dave Chappelle's the GOAT. Some people think he's the best ever. So, he's very funny. He's all those things. But this special wasn't great comedy to me. As far as what he said that pissed people off, look, comedians have to be able to tell jokes. This is one of the things that's been bothering me about comedy for the last 5 or 6 years. Some comedians think that they get the right to go out there and say hateful and hurtful things because they're comedians. That's not really the case. I mean, look at the late night talk show hosts. They've spent the last 4 or 5 years, asshole, bad person, blah, 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 and then everybody cheers and they think that that's them telling a joke. No, Colbert, you're not telling a joke. No, Kimmel, you're not telling jokes. You're just out there being a blowhard. Being a blowhard is not funny. If you go out there and tell jokes, it's fine. You should be able to tell jokes and approach shitty situations with comedy. I mean, Ray, you're probably one of the best people to ask this. How many black jokes have you ever heard in your life?
Oh, gang of them.
How many black jokes have you ever heard from other black people?
Once again, a gang of them. But I also heard a bunch of them from white people too. And I'll admit, some of them I wasn't a huge fan of. But you know what? I understand that it's in the art of comedy, and it's not meant to be offensive towards African Americans. So you're never gonna get me on your head if you want to make a joke like that. I don't. My whole idea, especially with Dave Chappelle, of course, I'm a little bit biased. I do like Dave Chappelle and all his specials. Haven't seen The Closer yet, but it's comedians do have the right to go out there and make jokes about whatever type of culture that they want to make jokes about. Dave Chappelle, especially in his last special or one of his last ones, he's known for making jokes about the LGBTQ community. And yeah, some people in the community may be offended by that, but it's just it is what it is. It's comedy, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Chappelle, if he was in contact with a person of the community, he wouldn't make these jokes to offend these people. He does it in the art of comedy, which kind of you get the okay from me on that. Now, if he's going up to someone like Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn, whatever you want to call him nowadays, and starts making fun of him or her for being a transgender, then that's he's getting a little bit personal with that. So that's what kind of separates comedy from, actually trying to intentionally offend someone specifically. That's my thoughts on the whole thing.
Do you guys think that just because a comedian makes a joke about a specific thing or whatever, that they may not actually think that way about that particular subject or topic?
It could honestly go both ways, because the whole saying goes, there's a little bit of truth in every single joke. That's but there can also be someone who can be making a joke on a certain subject and be like, man, I honestly don't feel this way about these types of people. So, and like I said, I haven't seen The Closer. I want to see it probably sometime this weekend or hell, maybe even tomorrow. But I need to hear these jokes that were made to see what the big fuss is all about. Honestly, I haven't heard them. I'm really interested to hear what these jokes are, because Chappelle made jokes against the LGBT community before, and I haven't heard any backlash on him for jokes that he made previously. So what the hell did he say that was so bad this time?
One of the things I thought was interesting. Go ahead, Cora. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To me, it's just values thing. I'm not saying people shouldn't be above enjoying some comedy here and there, but the problem with making jokes about people in the trans community is that there's a high suicide rate in that group, and when you start making jokes about it, it can get in people's head that they're not accepted, and then I just can't. Any humor in that regard to me is just too much. That's just where I'm at.
I think the joke matters, though. I mean,
I don't think it's funny to joke at all about anything trans.
But again, everybody has a different sense of humor, and everybody can compartmentalize things a bit differently. Like one of the jokes that he made, the Caitlyn Jenner joke specifically, which I thought was a funny joke. It had to do with Caitlyn Jenner and Eminem, and it was a funny joke. I didn't think it was all that funny. I laughed at it, but that was about it. But he does follow it up with a story about a transgender comedian that he met in San Francisco, which pushed things in perspective for me. Because I didn't get a chance to watch this until after all this stuff had kind of popped off in the news. So I got home from work one night and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and watch this and see what all the fuss is about. He does go into the story about this transgender comedian that he befriended in San Francisco, and it does put in context. And if you listen, and this is the part of the social commentary that I really enjoyed, because this kind of helped me understand where he was coming from a lot more. It helped me put in context why, when he says a joke like he says, that he clearly does. Look, he never goes out there and says that transgendered people are bad, that the LGBT community is bad. He never says anything like that. What he does very, very well, and what a lot of comedians do very, very well, and they get shit on for it, is they make these little observations. They say, isn't it funny when blah, blah, blah happens? And then you just say, oh yeah, that is kind of funny. But all these people are like, hey, that's offensive. Why am I pointing it out that it's offensive? That, I mean, I make jokes all the time about baseball players' habits of patting each other on the butt in the dugout. Do baseball players need to feel offended by it? I mean, it's something that you do when you're a ball player. It means absolutely nothing other than it's kind of a tradition. Do ball players need to be offended by it when I say, "Oh, it looks so gay" when one baseball player slaps another baseball player in the butt? Do baseball players need to feel offended, or do baseball players look and say,
I don't think so.
It is kind of funny. Why do we do that? It's just something we've done for a century of baseball. It's the same thing. Is he points out, specifically with that one joke, how it was funny that, this one honor was given to Caitlyn Jenner, but if you gave this other honor to Eminem, it would seem weird and it would seem odd. That was kind of the premise. I don't want to go into the joke because I don't want to tell his joke for him. I wouldn't be able to do it justice anyway. But I mean, shouldn't he be able to say it's kind of funny that this happens and this can't happen, and then get a laugh out of it?
Absolutely.
Because that's kind of
absolutely. I definitely think so.
Because I listened to that whole special, and he really didn't talk a lot about the LGBT community at all. Most of his jokes were very benign. They were just about random stuff. They were funny. But he only really has this one section where he talks about anything at all about the LGBT community. One or two jokes, and that was it. And then he talks about, his friend, this transgendered comedian that he befriended in San Francisco, and he tells a story about her. And after you hear this joke, and then he goes into the story, and then you figure out where he's coming from. I think these people that are pissed off did not really hear that part of it, because that's kind of how he finished up the show. I think they heard this one joke, and they immediately went and ran and got their torches and pitchforks. They didn't hear where he was coming from and why he thinks some of the things that he does. He even brings direct reference in this special to, I don't know why people have a problem with these jokes. Let me tell you what my real view of the LGBT community is, and then tells the story. And as he tells the story, you kind of sit back, you're like, damn, that's pretty fucking deep. You are connected, you befriended and tried to support somebody in this community. One stupid little joke, which was pretty funny, but not really all that bad, is what's going to send these people walking out. Because what really gets me is that they've actually hit Netflix, some of these employees have actually hit Netflix with an unfair labor charge. Which to me,
crazy.
Which to me boggles my fucking mind. Now, what they're saying is that Netflix engaged in the above activity. There was, what do they say? Let's see. They filed paperwork on October 27th over the false and pretextual reasons and retaliation leveled against them, respectively. For one person was fired and one person walked out, I believe. I forget how it all worked out. Let's see. They fired Netflix program manager B. Pagels Minor and suspended senior software engineer Tara Field. They filed paperwork. And they said Netflix engaged in the above activity to quell employers from speaking up about working conditions, including but not limited to seeking to create a safe and affirming work environment for Netflix employees. I don't know about all that. Speaking up about Netflix products and the impact of its product choices on the LGBT community, and providing support for employees whom Netflix have treated in an unlawful and desperate manner. I don't even understand how that's worded, but I fail to. Again, I feel like this is one of those moments where it's like we want attention. And
agreed.
I'll just be perfectly honest with you. It is. yes, there are still stupid people out there who don't value people in the LGBT community the way that they should. I've known plenty of gay and lesbian people. I grew up on the West Coast. I grew up, an hour from Berkeley. So homosexuality was already very accepted in the 80s where I grew up, so I just never noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
I've known plenty of gay people that were really, really cool people. I mean, I could point out 3 or 4 people that I'm like, I would let them into my house right now, and I would sit and bullshit and hang out with them any day of the week. They are good people.
Absolutely.
I've known some gay people that are just assholes. But then again, the flip side is I've known straight people that are assholes. I've known straight people that are really nice. It's not that particular part of who you are doesn't really matter all that much outside of what you think of yourself. Yes, there's stupid people out there who will look at this and say I value you less as a person because of this whatever, and they're wrong. Put it out very simply, they're wrong. But I don't know how you work this balance behind programming a comedian who tells jokes and who says something like, "Oh, isn't this funny about the LGBT community, but wouldn't it be this funny in the black community?" Which is kind of what the joke was all about. He didn't even say that Caitlyn Jenner didn't deserve the award. He didn't say that Caitlyn Jenner was a bad person. He didn't say anything negative about Caitlyn Jenner at all. He just said, "Isn't it funny that this, but this," and that was it. That was the joke. Actually, I think you can actually find the clip of this joke on YouTube.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna have to see that.
I would suggest going and watch the whole thing because he is very funny. But for his part, he does say we recognize, or the CEO guy, he says we recognize the hurt and pain caused to our trans colleagues over the last few weeks. A spokesperson for the streamer told Deadline that afternoon, but we want to make clear that Netflix has not taken any action against employees for either speaking up or walking out. That's actually one of the things that did happen is they had a big mass walkout, which I don't know how that affected them at all. But I just don't understand it. Those are the only notes that I really made. But I mean, Reed Hastings he's kind of tried to backpedal a little bit and say, "Oh yeah, maybe we could have handled this better." But I'm like, what can you really do? I mean, was it funny that
even Dave?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, didn't Dave Chappelle even come out and say and kind of like double down on what he said? Essentially, No,
he didn't double down.
No?
What he said was that he would be totally willing to meet with anybody from the trans or LGBT community under certain circumstances. But one of the things he said is, "I am not going to back down."
Right. Okay.
I'm going to tell. What I think essentially what he
that's
wanted
what I meant.
is that he was going to tell them to their face, be like, "Look, I don't want to offend anybody, but I should be able to tell jokes because even if I joke about something, it doesn't necessarily mean that I feel a certain way about that thing." That's one of the things that a lot of comedians have been struggling with over the last 10 years or so, ever since cancel culture became a thing, is you should be... have you seen, like, Delirious, Eddie Murphy's Delirious or Raw?
That stuff is pretty... Yeah, it's Richard Pryor quality, edgy.
Richard Pryor. Have you seen any of that stuff, Ray?
Yeah.
I haven't, but I've been wanting to get into watching some of him.
Be prepared because that shit today you would get murdered for the stuff they say.
You would never be able to crack habit. He talks about like getting fucked in the ass by Mr. T at one point. Like seriously, it's like Eddie Murphy jokes about having a dream where Mr. T is gay and tries to fuck him in the ass. And he makes jokes about gay people that everybody laughed about, and then when the show was over, nobody went picketing. Nobody got mad. Now, granted, this was a very different time back in the early mid-'80s. Right. There was no Netflix. It was all released theatrically. So if you didn't want to go see it, you just didn't go see it. Whatever.
And plus, homosexuality was frowned upon during that time period anyway, which, lets them get away with those jokes.
It was very misunderstood.
Right.
It wasn't adequate. No, it wasn't adequately understood. I don't want to say misunderstood. It wasn't adequately understood at that point. I think it was getting there, but it still was not adequately understood at that point. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. And like even go before that, Richard Pryor, Live in the Sunset Strip. I mean, if you've never heard that, that is some of the best comedy I've ever heard. I mean, from start to finish, like I want to pee myself when I laugh at that thing. Start to finish, I have to pause it to catch my breath sometimes. That entire stand-up routine is fucking hilarious. But he says things about racial differences that are serious things to talk about, but he does make funny jokes about them all, and nobody got mad about that shit. Now, granted, you wouldn't be able to have a white comedian go out there and say some of these jokes, but, I mean, it's still funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that comedians and people need to remember that There is a way that comedy is done that if it's done that way, it's great. Make fun of the absurdities of life. There is no shortage of absurd things in life. Be it the way that people, things like Kardashians and Honey Boo Boo on TV, to people wanting to cancel, wanting to tear down statues, to whatever. I mean, there's no shortage of absurd things to make fun of in this world. You can't make fun of any of them anymore because there's always one person that likes that particular thing way too much, and they have a Facebook page or a Twitter handle with 500 followers, and all they have to do is go on Twitter and hashtag cancel this person because he farted and I don't like farts. And then next thing you know, there's a Facebook page that pops up. It's been retweeted 5,000 times, and then someone's getting canceled because he farted. It's literally gotten that ridiculous. It's literally gotten that ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
But look, let comedians tell jokes. You know how many
Absolutely.
You know how many Mexican jokes I've heard? You know how many bald? Hell, Ray's made at least one bald joke since he started this program. Should I be? I can either be offended by it or I can laugh at it because it's funny.
And it's made in good fun. And that's what the whole idea behind comedy is. Make jokes in good fun. Jokes aren't meant to offend. They're just made in good fun. And that's what I like. Like when people get ready to sit down and watch a comedy show, either in person or at home on their television, they should go in there with the mind of, I want to laugh. And if they hear a joke that they're kind of offended about, they should just be aware that these jokes are made in good fun and they're not made to offend. Comedians' jobs are to make people laugh, not make people cry.
Comedians are supposed to say outrageous things that get a response out of us.
Exactly.
And a lot of these comedians would never say this shit in real life. I mean, I don't know if do you listen to Joe Rogan podcast at all?
No, I've been wanting to get into that though. A lot of people praise that podcast.
Warned, he's really awful.
If you listen to his podcast and then listen to his stand-up, it's two different people.
Yes, that's it.
Now,
stand-up is funny. The podcast, he's pretty zany.
Yeah, and he even says, I say all kinds of outrageous shit on stage that I don't mean it. I don't necessarily believe any of it. He's like, I can go out there and say, I believe it's okay to eat moldy bread, but I don't really think it's okay to eat moldy bread. I make jokes about eating moldy bread, but I don't eat moldy bread at home. So that's the whole point. Is you're supposed to be able to write this material that's supposed to be funny in the moment. Make light of something that sometimes can be serious or even sad. But that's the funny thing about comedians. Some of the best comedians, they come from tragic backgrounds. Guys like Bernie Mac, guys like Sam Kinison. I mean, all these people. A lot of these funniest comedians come from very terrible backgrounds, to where you only have really two choices in life: it's laugh about all the chaos that you've seen, or let it consume you and destroy you.
Absolutely.
And Richard Pryor was one of those. Bernie Mac, again, one of them. It's I don't know. I mean, everybody wants to laugh, but nobody wants to laugh at the things that are truly funny. We only want to laugh at these kind of dry jokes where we kind of like, haha, and then we got to move on. Nobody wants to be put in stitches anymore. Nobody wants to hear that comedian say that outrageous thing.
Well, we live in a world of political correctness overkill.
I think that's part of it.
There's no, oh, okay, you're on the edge of it here. It's like all or nothing, it seems like.
And I think also part of it, to that point, is that a lot of comedians want at some point to get that sitcom deal. And if you go and piss too many people off in your stand-up, you're not likely going to get that sitcom deal from ABC or CBS.
Then you're not an authentic comedian if you're holding back because you're trying to get the next gig. Yeah.
Well, not just the next gig, but they want the sitcom, because the sitcom is where the money rolls in.
Yeah.
the sitcoms are what get you paid. You get paid $300,000 an episode for 16 weeks. That's a whole lot of money.
At the expense of your authenticity, I couldn't do it.
But that's the line that so many of them feel like they have to walk now, especially some of the younger comedians that are like, well, Dave Chappelle's got a certain amount of standing to where he can stand up to some of this shit. But if I'm
Dave Chappelle's a fucking legend. That shit will not faze him ever.
Yeah, but if I'm some open micer and I'm just trying to, and I'm doing the 2 a.m. set at Catch a Rising Star, or
Right.
if I'm just traveling around the Midwest hitting small comedy clubs, but I want to be able to get discovered by somebody like a Chappelle or somebody who will take me on the road with them and let me open for them and give them 15 to 20 minutes of my comedy to this big group to help my exposure. I'm not going to be able to get that if you get these people out there that are like, we don't really want that guy around because he made this joke last year, and then whatever.
Yep.
Then your career's kind of stalled. So you get a lot of these people self-censoring and not really going for it and not being as funny as they probably could be.
Yeah.
And it kind of impedes their growth as comedians. But at the same time, they're like, I don't feel this way about this subject, but I have to make a joke about it because there is this funny little thing here, but I'm afraid to make a joke about it because I'm going to piss this group off. And I don't want to piss this group off because I want that. I want to go open for this big comedian, or I want that spot on, the next sitcom. It kind of ruins the whole thing. And I understand that people feel the need to self-censor and kind of cover their own asses. But it really inhibits the growth of this comedian. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to this, especially one that's going to satisfy all the people that have those big microphones, like on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and they can cause chaos. But eventually this is going to have to come to a head, and I hope that this thing with Chappelle is kind of where it starts. You know what I mean? That
Absolutely.
That some of the other comedians are. And he's already had a couple of comedians get behind him, not just Rogan, but Ari Shaffir and some other comedians that are really, really big in the comedian set, that have kind of come to his defense and said, hey, just back off and let somebody tell jokes. If you don't like a joke, don't laugh.
Exactly.
Especially after you hear the story that he tells about this transgender comedian. It puts his real feelings in focus. Because again, the one or two transgender jokes that he cracked in that special, they weren't hateful, they weren't inciting violence, they weren't inviting anything. They pointed out a funny little thing, a funny quirk, a funny thing about the situation, and that was it. It wasn't anybody saying that he wasn't saying that they're not good. He wasn't saying any of that shit. He said none of that. I watched that entire special from start to finish. And then when he finishes up with that story, it puts in perspective how a comedian can really feel. You know?
Right.
I would invite you, if you haven't watched it, go watch it first. I mean, it's okay to look. We're all offended by different things. I get offended by shit. I usually just turn my head and walk away. I just don't care. I don't want to give it energy. But I know some people don't really have. Some people feel like that's not always an option, and I get it because sometimes maybe it's not. But at the same time, so many people I've talked to that have a problem with it, like I won't watch that. Why? Because he's homophobic, transphobic. I'm like, did you actually watch it?
Oh boy.
I'm like, because I'm one of those people. I actually want to watch something before I shit on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, if somebody says this thing is terrible because of this, I'll go watch part of it. I'll watch clips of it. I'll try to watch a good piece of it before I try to form any real opinion about it. But just go watch it. Go watch it. Understand it's a joke. And like I said, when you hear him tell the story that he tells to finish up the special about his friend, the transgendered comedian from California, from San Francisco, you're going to understand. You understand why he feels that way. And he even says, like, towards the end of the story, he goes, you know what? This person would have fucking loved that joke.
Oh, that seals the deal right there.
And he even talks about, like, the humor that went back and forth between him and this person, and the jokes about transgender and stuff that went back and forth. I was like, come on, just understand the story before you shit on a comedian for a pretty funny joke that doesn't incite violence. It doesn't say that a person is bad. He just points out a couple of funny situations that don't match up well. It had nothing to do with... Honestly, the joke didn't have anything really to do with transgenderism. But because he mentions Caitlyn Jenner, who was this big icon amongst transgendered people, it must be cracking on Caitlyn Jenner. Must be bad. He's transphobic. Listen to what he fucking said first. That's all I ask. Is that people who have a problem actually sit and listen to what he said first. That's my thought on it all. But I mean, look. Comedy is supposed to push the edges. That's the whole point. We go to watch different entertainers because we want an escape from the trials and the stresses of real life. That's why we go watch movies. That's why we go to see comedians. That's why we read books. That's why we do this stuff, because we want an escape from that bullshit. We want to not take something seriously for an hour. And that's what you're supposed to be able to do when you go to see a comedian. You're supposed to just not take anything seriously. You know how many comedians out there joke about stupid shit like beating kids and beating their wives and
drinking? Yeah. Yep.
And then they go home and they give their wife a kiss on the cheek. They pat their dog on the head, give them a bowl of food, and sit there with a Diet Coke and watch sports. They don't do any of the stuff they were just joking about. It's like, I mean, it's just dumb. Some people can just be so sensitive without understanding that there is a context to all this stuff. They don't understand the nuance. I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on the whole thing. I don't really know how they're going to get away with filing whatever the hell they filed, a unfair labor charge. I don't really know.
Yeah, they're not going to get away with that.
I don't know what Netflix did specifically because I don't work there, never been there. I don't know. I don't know if they fired. I don't know why they actually fired this person. I don't know why. I don't know. I know a couple people walked out. If you walk out of a job, even if it's for a good reason, you walk out of a job. You leave. You're forfeiting that job, whether it's for a just reason or not. That's what you're doing. As a company, they have the right to say, "Well, you're walking out, so bye." I mean, we understand you don't agree with us, but bye.
Right.
I mean, if you chose to walk out, that's not the company telling you to leave or making you leave. You chose that. So I don't know. I don't think that. I don't know where they're coming up with this charge. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think what's probably going to happen is it's probably going to go nowhere. We're probably never going to hear anything about it in the news ever again. They just wanted to get in the news for having thrown the charge out there. That's my guess. Because, everybody in America is a big attention whore now. We want to get on TV. We want to have the articles written about us because whatever. I don't know.
Agreed. 100%.
I've bloviated far too long on this thing. Ray, do you have any final thoughts on this?
Well, it's just, as you said, man, look, and I even said it earlier, I'm going to say it one more time. When you put on a comedy show, you do it purely for enjoyment. And, you're doing it to laugh. It's a comedian's job to make you laugh. They should have the ability to say whatever's on their mind, make whatever jokes that they want to make. And the jokes that they usually make are in good fun. They're not made to offend. You hear a joke that you don't like, just be like, oh, man, that sucks. And then just keep it going. Maybe there might be a joke that you do like a little bit later on in the show. So enjoy comedy for what it is. Don't take anything too seriously. Just sit back and enjoy the show, man.
No doubt.
Cora, it's like this one.
Like this one, yeah. Yeah. Cora, any final thoughts from you?
I'm loving that Ray was here. I miss you, Jeremy. No way do I want to replace you. But loving the Ray you joined us, and really enjoyed the show tonight.
All right.
I hope you guys enjoyed it all. Kind of a little. I really didn't really want to approach this Netflix thing, but I mean, it just needed to be talked about somewhere. Other than I want to talk about it at least once. The Fetty Wap thing. I don't know. It was popular. So, I'm not gonna lie. That was a bit of a clickbait thing for me. It was a fairly kind of interesting story, especially when you consider the numbers. But thank you guys all for hanging out. And before we go, Lady Cora, where can the folks find you on the internet?
On your show next Thursday.
On my show next Thursday. I don't know if there is going to be a review next Thursday or not. I forget what else. Actually, there will be. Eternals comes out this weekend, so we will be talking about the Eternals. Starting the show off next Thursday, along with whatever other news pops up between now and then. But the Cartoon Kid, Ray Rollins, talk about where we can find you on the internet.
Man, you can find me on the Cartoon Kid YouTube channel. Link will probably be in the description down below. You can find me on Twitter at the Ray Rollins. And I'm not even going to say every Sunday on True Show because I'm barely even on there. But yeah, if you know me, you know where to find me, man. Got some videos coming out next week for sure.
Yeah, I may have to enlist you next time we do the anime thing because I feel like you, Jeremy, and Corey could have a pretty fucking awesome discussion.
Man, if you even just regular anime discussions, but if you want to talk about doing some anime reviews, like seasonal anime reviews, maybe review season 1 of this or that anime or whatever, I'd definitely be down to do that. I'm always looking to broaden my horizons on the whole anime scope. So hell yeah, man, I'll be down.
Oh yeah! Again, last night the anime thing went off really, really great. Great viewership for that thing.
Hell yeah!
Long. A couple of really knowledgeable people were on camera. Jeremy did a great job quarterbacking the whole thing for me. And maybe I think the 15th is when we're kind of tentatively scheduled the next one. I don't know. Keep that date open, Ray. Maybe we'll have to have you on that one for as well.
All right. Will do.
And as for me, you can find me here. You can find all the links to anything that I do on the internet in the description below. Here on Thursday nights, Sunday nights over on the Derailed podcast with Gatekeeper Drew. Links to all that stuff, including Ray's stuff, is down in the comments below, or in the description below. Comment and let us know what you think of all the stuff that we talked about tonight. And until then, we will see you later. Adios.
Bye.
Peace out, everybody.